We're joined now in studio with head coach June Jones. Coach, I know you said you prefer the time off now late in the season, but when you look at the calendar and you start to realize 28 days, only one game that you've played entering this Fresno State matchup, how do you keep the team fresh?
Well, we don't really have a hard problem. We have fun at practice, and the kids show up every day and are very motivated. And I think if we were doing something different offensively and defensively, we were very aggressive on defense, very aggressive on offense, that maybe you might feel it if we weren't doing what we're doing. But I think our schemes help us, and it's kind of fun to me. This is kind of like the NFL right now, making that Super Bowl run. And if you won your AFC, we're not in the wild card game. You got to bye, and then you had a run where you got to win 4 games or 3 or 4 games to get in, and so it's it's kind of remember that time.
You hit the playoffs.
Exactly.
Is what you're thinking. Obviously a heavy pass offense, but last year you added a lot more run plays. We're not really seeing much of a ground game this year.
Yeah, we haven't run the ball quite as effectively. We got better, I thought, last week. We did some good things, and we're going to have to run the ball, I think, these last 4 games more effectively than we have. Not put to keep the defense a little bit off balance. So hopefully with some of the things, and we've been working real hard on it, I think that it's about ready to pop out of there. Kealoha and Leon have had the kind of nagging knees that are bothering them. In fact, we didn't even practice either one of them the last 3 days, and we're getting a look at another kid in there right now that's looked very good, Daniel Libre, and so he may give us a little spark too.
This week also, ESPN deciding to pick up the Fresno State game, meaning that you're going to finish out the season also on national TV. How important is that in regards to not just the exposure, but in regards to seeing is believing, and people realize beyond the system what this team is capable of doing?
Well, I think it's fantastic, that's happening. I mean, who would ever thought that we're going to have 4 straight national TV games? I don't think anybody would have conceived that. And to be where we are, to enter that time, we can just stay focus and stay going. Everybody's going to know who we are with these last 4 games, and we're here now, and now it's time to make it happen.
Pat Hill, coach, you're very familiar with. There's rivalry has been built up. Last season they had a tough one, 4-8. This season they've really turned things around.
No, they have, and they're playing very solid. They've changed their scheme a little bit on offense. They're spreading you out a little bit more. They still want to be physically tough and be able to run the ball, and that's what we're going to have to stop when it really comes down to it. Defensively, just watching a couple of their games, I think they've really improved on defense, even though statistically I think they're 70th or 75th something in the country. But they've played some tough teams, and they're really good front four. They really have a good secondary, and they can run, and they're playing with emotion.
Yeah, this is a team that hung in with Texas A&M through 3 overtimes, gave Boise State probably the biggest challenge in the WAC. You're also looking at the young running backs, because he's got a freshman in there that's a leading rusher, Ryan Matthews, that's averaging 80 yards a game, and then Lanye Miller, who's a sophomore. So these are kids that you really haven't seen.
To me, Pat, every year, you could just insert a back in there. They all look the same to me. They all look good. He does a good job recruiting running backs. Obviously, a lot of, it's kind of like quarterbacks and receivers. They want to come to our place. Running backs want to go play for Pat, because they're going to hand the ball off 20, 25 times a game to 2 different guys. They might get 40 or 50 rushes in a game.
Lastly, Coach, we'll close with something that's very dear to you. Yeah. Sports Illustrated is coming out with an article about something that happened earlier this season. You want to kind of go into detail?
Yeah, no, it's pretty awesome piece. We, in our Quarterbacks for Charity event, my foundation put on early in August. I invited all the quarterbacks back that had played for me and some from the past, and there was a guy in the audience named Mun Kin Wong. Mun Kin was the quarterback on the 1941 team, and of course everybody knows the next day after December 6th, the Willamette game, Pearl Harbor was bombed, and they had another game against San Jose State the next week. Well, they never played football basketball again. Both teams joined the Army, and so we awarded him his letter and a jersey that night. And it's a funny story because one of the guys from Chicago was at the banquet, and he's in New York about 3 weeks ago at a bar telling the story about Munkin, and just happened to be at the bar was Rick Riley from Sports Illustrated. And so Rick Riley called me, and I shared with him everything I knew about it. And here we are today. Comes out Sports Illustrated, full article on Munkin Wong, quarterback 1941.
Something, yeah, something just like this season. We want to just say, you know, it was destiny. So good luck, Coach, this week, and Fresno State.
Thanks, Liz.
You don't get to 8-0 on offense alone. The Warriors' defense is turning heads and ranks amongst the best in the nation in several categories. We'll sit down with D coordinator Greg McMackin next.